Hi, I'm Madeline James, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the processes I am following for building out the society for my next book. We are mainly going to be talking about class systems, religion, and power today. I have gone through a lot of the basics already in earlier videos, and I have a rough idea of the society I want. If you haven't already watched those videos, I will link them down below, but in the first video, I went through the elements of society that I needed to have for my plot to work, and in another, I brainstormed how society and history might have developed under the influence of the magic system, which is going to come into play a lot here. Now, I really want to delve deeper into how the society works, the class systems, where power comes from, how religions would support the necessary ideologies, etc. And as with all the videos I make about planning for my books, everyone's process is different. I know mine is not for everyone, so just keep that in mind, please. So let's start with requirements and starting point. The first step I went through was detailing the requirements or starting point I have for this society. And these will tie back into my themes, the plot and backdrop I want for my story, and how I want my characters to fit into the society. The theme is nature versus society, which the magic system ties into. I also want the society to be becoming more corrupt, less centralized, and more family kinship bound when the story takes place. So the ruler of the society was also chosen by a local guardian spirit, but that's not anymore the case. As a note, I like having societies that are in the process of changing. Not only is this realistic, societies are never stagnant, but it helps build generational differences and conflict among different people as some support or resist the change. And it can also highlight ideologies and create different factions. I find tying theme into this works the best for me to keep everything very intentional with everything else that's going on in the story. So let's talk about the foundation of the original society pre-change. So I recently did a lot of research into the development of society for my latest cultural world building guide video, and that has made me think about creating societies a lot more. I'm not going to rehash the information from that video, but I'm going to be building off of it in a sense. So in order to have a state, we need a class system, aka inequality, that will show who has power over who. There is a difference between power, status, and wealth, but for my purposes here, we are going to keep it simple, and these will more or less be the same. Hello Future Me has 2 fantastic videos on class systems that I highly recommend, and I will link those down below so that you can go watch them later. But let's go back to my starting points and pull out this foundation for power. The ruler is chosen by the spirit. This means that the power system comes from the support of the spirits. And how does that translate to a class system? So my class system will show preference to families from whom rulers have been chosen, as they have been shown preference by the spirits. This gives me a few more requirements. Preferences must be considered hereditary, so general worthiness passes through family lines, although individuals can be more or less individually worthy. The belief that spirits can judge their worth, so society's values have to equal the spirits' values. So then, coercion and ideology. In order to create inequality and social stratification or a class system, we need 2 main things: coercion and ideology. People don't want to be unequal, and they won't happily accept it without some combination of these 2 things. We already have the basis for our ideology. Spirits are wise creatures that watch and judge us. Spirits guard and protect the land or people, and thus they are better off with the spirit's support. Some bloodlines are more deserving and worthy than others, but varies by the individual, and anyone could become worthy. I will build a national religion that supports this ideology, so it'll have worship of the spirits, the pursuit of spirits' values to be seen as more worthy in their eyes, creation theories and myths that justify the belief that spirits are wise, judging and protect them, so show them as benevolent protectors, but also have cautionary tales of those that turn their backs on the spirits. And then further support with violence and coercion. Societies must swiftly punish dishonoring or disobeying the spirits and their chosen to avoid angering them. So you can also vow yourself to an elite or chosen family to bring increased status, but to betray them or be kicked out would make you a social pariah and have very strict punishments. Society could shun those to avoid angering the spirits themselves. Then, of course, there's the direct punishment of angering the spirits, what those spirits do to you if you've angered them. So now let's talk about changing society. First, determine the turning point or the axis of change. For my society, I have two. The first is when their magic order disappeared and the society's guardian spirit abandoned them and stopped choosing rulers. This got rid of the foundational structure of their society, the source of societal power. Initially, this would have led to chaos and fear, especially as the weather would have been harsher and made farming more difficult and food scarcer. And as is usually the case when the power of a centralized government fails, you can see decentralization, which is what I want, but also as per the hard times hypothesis, you could see an increase in coercion and authoritarianism. It could go a few different ways, and I'm going to take advantage of both a little bit. So to fill the power vacuum, I am going to have even more power and emphasis on the elite families, as they are the last link to these spirits and could be seen as the best bet to bringing the spirits back. So the leadership of these families became a sort of council for the new ruler, who is mostly just a puppet king at this point. And this council will pursue laws to give their families more control and power, and as time goes on, they will get more corrupt, and they will give more authority to these families, have more strict kinship structures, and decentralizing power away from the king and into these families. I am taking some inspiration from the Joseon politics here. I've been watching a lot of historical K-dramas, and it just fits very well. So this change was long enough ago that it mostly just supports an ongoing societal trend versus a lot of present-day conflict. But then I'm having another more recent change where people have discovered how to use magic again. And this is within the current lifetimes. Especially given their history, there are multiple ways that people react to this. Some people are fearful of reliance of magic or its use in general. Some people see magic as the traditions and culture of their people and support it wholeheartedly. There's a lot of options, and this also ties into my theme of society versus nature, where the world they've built without magic is at odds with the resurgence of magic and the historical traditions of society. I'm not going to get into this that much here, but I think you can see all the opportunities for conflict, differing ideologies, and political factions. I hope that hearing my process at least gave you some ideas for creating your own. Building society is really such an individual process that has to be customized for what every story needs from its society and how every writer works. Nonetheless, I'm having so much fun with my research and working on this project. It's a reminder to like, comment, subscribe here. Happy world building, and I will see you in the next one.